culture around the world, all Moors first. And Moor doesn't mean just North Africa, Muslims. They're the indigenous Americans.
Black people, they are the Aboriginals of every continent. Dark-skinned people are the Aboriginals of every continent.
Folks, is that the civilization we have in Europe today was brought to us by black people. Even black people don't know that.
People are racist. All white people are racist does not mean all white people are bigots. Stay with me. A bigot is someone who hates you because you're black.
So a sheikh called Sheikh Imran is predicting that black African Christians and the Muslims in the Middle East are going to become one in some years to come. They are going to become one. Why is he saying this? We'll see that in the video. And also, it seems like these white people, they know something that we don't know, because there is a white lady that is exposing something that I think black people should be aware of. It's crazy. I don't want to talk much. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Just give the video a thumbs up. Just click on the like button, comment whatever you think, and share. Let's go.
Israel becomes the ruling state in the world. It is at that time that Muslims and black Christian Africa, these two are brothers with each other. Black Christian Africa opened their arms to Muslims when we were being persecuted, when war on Islam was being waged in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And a Christian king, a black Christian king in Africa protected us. I will never send them back to you, he said. And he looked at Islam and he looked at Christianity and he said, that which divides us from you is no more than this line in the sand. The Negus of Abyssinia. So too it was at that time. So too again it is today. The major attacks that Israel will launch will be on Muslims and black Christian Africans. The Prophet said that a man will pass by a grave and would roll on the grave and would say, I wish I were in the grave rather than the dead man, because of biting, relentless oppression. But it will not last forever. The Dajjal or the Antichrist would be born. He would grow up. He would become the ruler of the state of Israel. He would rule the world from Jerusalem the way George Bush is ruling from Washington. I expect this within the next 50 years or so, but Allah knows best. It's going to be a horrible 50 years ahead of us. Horrible. And then he will declare, I am the Messiah. And the Jews will accept him as the Messiah. And then he'll rub his hands and say, mission accomplished. It is at that time that the Son of Mary will now come back, not before. Jesus cannot return until the Antichrist has completed his mission. The Christians of this country would do well if they would come to Islam so that Muslims can explain to them the subject of the Antichrist as it has been explained to them today, as never before explained to them. Jesus cannot return until the Antichrist has completed his mission. The Antichrist has completed almost 2/3 of his mission, but there's 1/3 still remaining. At that time, the Son of Mary comes down, and the true Messiah now kills the false Messiah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy Gog and Magog, and that's our next lecture, inshallah. So you got to come back next month. And then said the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, just listen to these two hadiths and we'll be finished. He said, when you see the black flags coming from the direction of Khorasan, Afghanistan is part of Khorasan. He said, go and join that army. These are two hadiths combined here. Go and join that army. Even if you have to crawl over ice. These are his words. Go and join that army. Even if you have to crawl over ice. Because no one will be able to stop that army until it reaches Jerusalem. And so go back home today with joy in your hearts, even while there are tears in your eyes for the immense suffering through which we are going. Go back home with joy in your heart that there is a tomorrow which is coming, in which a Muslim army will liberate the Holy Land. The Prophet said, لَتُقَاتِلُنَّ الْيَهُودِ, you will most certainly fight the Jews. That's clear. Look at what they're doing today. وَلَتَقْتُلُنَّهُمْ, and you will kill them. You will be victorious. These are his words. حَتَّى يَقُولُ الْحَجَرُ, at that time even the stones will speak. Ya Muslim, هَذَا يَهُودِيٌّ وَرَائِي, there's a Jew hiding behind me. فَتَعَالَ فَقْتُلْ, so come and kill him. Not all. Those who are fighting us in the Holy Land, those who are waging war, those who are engaged in a mountain of wickedness and oppression and godlessness unprecedented in history, go and kill them. So the Holy Land would be liberated. And then the Islamic State, the holy state of Israel, of David and Solomon, will now be restored in the Holy Land. And that holy Israel will become the ruling state in the world. And the Son of Mary will now rule the world from Jerusalem with a rule which will be eternal. And the religion of Abraham, the true religion of Abraham, would rule the world from the Holy Land. What Prophet Muhammad brought, Allah's blessings be upon him, is the religion of Abraham. And so we ask of you today, go back home.
Trillions?
Yes, trillions in ancient trust belong to black people. It is a whitewashed narrative to disinherit the true heirs of the empire.
Your Highness, are you saying the original nobles were black people?
The real nobility, the original European royalty, were Moors. They've hidden this history to maintain control over trillions of dollars. These Moors were present on both sides of the Atlantic, ruling from old America to the courts of Europe.
The Moors were all over the fucking world, ruling from Tartary to the Americas. Not just from North Africa. Then we came along as Mamelukes and Castrators and fucked it all up by burying the truth of the Asiatic.
If you look at the coats of arms within these very wars, you see the truth they've tried to repaint. The original European royalty were Moors.
The Moors were doing so much fucking in Europe, trying to help us to get rid of our animal gene. They were trying to civilize the wild white men by grafting their divine blood into the recessive DNA.
But the names George, Charles, Charlotte, surely these aren't Moorish?
They were all black nobility names first. The stewards simply assumed the titles of their masters to disinherit the true heirs. The names are masks: Windsor, Sassoon, Habsburg and Medici, all Moorish families that civilized Europa long before the historical reset. You want to know a secret? Dirty Diana wasn't a metaphor. It was personal. Michael tried to tell you he was Moorish nobility. Why do you think we hooked up? Dirty Diana wasn't a metaphor. It was personal. Michael wrote it because we were closer than the world was ever allowed to know. We had fallen in love. I loved Michael. Truth doesn't need permission. The Moors ruled the world with shared gold from South America, where Aztec kings like Montezuma were Moorish sovereigns. The wealth of the Inca Empire was bonded to the Old World through figures like King Charles.
Every culture around the world, all Moors first. And Moor doesn't mean just North Africa, Muslims. They're the indigenous Americans. It was a global Moorish empire. The original European nobility were all Moors, so-called black people. They ran all of Europe and Asia and America.
Black people, are the aboriginals of every continent. Dark-skinned people are the aboriginals of every continent. Native Americans migrated over the ice bridge from Siberia, that would be Asia, and became what we now know as Native Americans. Yes, they lived off the land. Yes, they knew how to give back to it, so therefore they should be considered indigenous. But the people who were on that land before them and the ice bridge even formed were black people. Black people also built pyramids on every continent. That's why there are pyramids on every continent. The Buddha was a dark-skinned man. The Chinese, we have a lot of trouble denying that we come from melanin. We do. We've tried. We have not succeeded. The difference between us and every other group is that we can admit to the fact that we came from melanin. Why can't everybody else? It's not erasure to say that black people were the aboriginals of every country. We're not saying you didn't exist. We're saying you came after. What's so hard to understand?
White people came to Africa. They came showing themselves as superior to the black people, digging out things that black people taught them. You know, what we don't have in our history books is that the civilization we have in Europe today was brought to us by black people. Even black people don't know that. Even many black people don't know that. They don't know that the Moors, they were West Africans and North Africans and Central Africans that came to Europe and ruled Spain. They brought civilization to us. They showed us how to use soap, how to be clean, how to behave like a decent human being, you know? All these things, we didn't know that before the Moors brought civilization to Spain. Did you know that the Moors ruled in Spain for 700 years? Where is that in our history books? It's nowhere to be found. Because why? If you are giving black people that power of having once ruled over white people, wouldn't black people start like kind of questioning, oh, we were once at that point of having such a power in a white man's country over white people? And where are we now? So of course they have to hide that history from you people, because knowing your true history is knowing your true power. And knowing your true power means you will break out from that system of racism.
Based on ignorance, when a doctor becomes a doctor, he takes what is called the Hippocratic Oath, the Oath of Hippocrates, a Greek man who studied in Africa under the man called Imhotep. The Greeks called him Acleopius, where he swears by the god Apollo and Acleopius. Apollo, the god of Ethiopia. You know, Apollo was the other side. God of Ethiopia. Go and read Homer. Go and read Herodotus and see where all the Greek gods came from. You know, but medicine comes from Africa. That's why a doctor takes the Hippocratic Oath in honor of Imhotep, the father of medicine. If you look at all medical scripts, the Rhine mathematical, the Carlsberg 1 to Carlsberg 47, you know, the Ebers Papyrus, the Edwin Smith Papyrus, these are all medical scripts from Africa. It was, in fact, the first cesarean operation. If you go to the Scottish Museum, was performed in Buganda. You know, and the script in the Scottish Museum says Baganda surgeons were performing his routine skills. This was no fluke. Nowhere in the world did, in 17th, 18th century, did the person survive a cesarean operation other than here in Buganda.
I can say with 100% fact that I've met white people that care about me.
I'm going to give you the rules of racism. And I challenge those of you who know good white people to prove your position, because history does not co-sign it. Number one, all white people are racist. And I'm going to explain what I mean by this. That's rule number one. If you don't get the first rule, the rest of the rules don't make no sense. Let me explain what I mean when I say all white people are racist. All white people are racist does not mean all white people are bigots. Stay with me. A bigot is someone who hates you because you're black. A bigot bigot is someone who believes y'all need to be exterminated, that you're racially inferior, that you're nothing but drug addicts and drug users. That is a bigot. They have an emotional attachment to the destruction of the black community. A racist does not have to hate black people. A racist does not have to work to eliminate us as a population. A racist does not have to push false narratives or stereotypes about who we are. Do you know what a racist is interested in? Control of resources, opportunities, and privileges. That's it. To be a racist means I like the unfair advantage my people have over blacks, and I'm not going to do a damn thing about changing it or making it even. Now, if you know of a white person that's ever walked this earth that has tried to eliminate their white privilege or the unfair advantage that their people have against us, give me a name.
White people, just get over it. Like, slavery was a long time ago. All right? Why can't they just move on? Well, this is sort of precious coming from people who set off fireworks every July 4th. Because that's some old too, right? Like Independence Day, that didn't happen last week, right? We didn't break away from the British last Thursday. That's some old but we're still celebrating that. So when it's stuff that makes us feel good, we love it. When it's stuff that makes us feel better than others, superior, like we're the greatest people in the greatest country ever struck off in the forehead of God Almighty, oh, we'll remember that forever. We just don't like the stuff that brings us up a little short, makes us look a little less than superior, maybe not quite as good as we'd like to believe. If you don't understand why the past affects the present, particularly around issues like enslavement, putting aside the inheritance of wealth and the lack thereof, part of which is certainly an explanation for why currently the median white wealth is 15 times the median African-American wealth and 11 to 12 times the median Latino wealth. Certainly that has something to do with history, who had access to resources and who didn't. But putting aside that, let's just understand something. The only reason Donald Trump is president right now is because of a little thing called the Electoral College, which was put in place by folks. See, we got this revisionist history that we've been spinning for the last couple of months about the Electoral College. Oh, you know, it was put in there to prevent tyranny. For real, you think? Do you really think that? Because I don't think that. Right? That might have been one of the things that folks were concerned about, but it was also put in because folks like the folks in Virginia, in the bigger slaveholding states, right, didn't want direct democracy or anything even remotely like it because it would have hurt them because so much of their population was not enfranchised, right? So much of their population in some areas, 40% or over half of the people in some of those slaveholding states were what? Disenfranchised, counted as 3/5 of a human being, not considered people. And if you had anything remotely resembling direct democracy, those states would have been harmed by that. So in fact, the Electoral College was in part a compromise with slaveholding states, states who were dependent upon enslavement as a mechanism of economic development so as to improve their political position vis-a-vis non-slaveholding states. So if you don't understand how slavery, because this is the point, right? Even if you don't think racism was key to Donald Trump's own campaign, which, you know, suggests to me that you might have been asleep for the last several months, even if you believe that, understand that racism in the 1700s, white supremacy embedded in the structure of the country at the founding of the country is most definitely implicated in his election because without the obeisance to the Electoral College, without that compromise, we know he would not be president right now. So that is why we have to think about the past, and that is why the past affects the present. See,
you see, for whatever that is happening around the world right now, clearly we all see, or we've all seen, that Israel is that country that is in the future going to take over the world. They are going to take over the world because a small country like that being able to control a country like America should tell you the power they have. So I will not be so surprised seeing them rule the world in the near future. It's something that I think it cannot be stopped because America is in bed with Israel. If it was to be only Israel that is doing this, trust me, people would have just wiped them out within a twinkle. But it is not that way. It is not that easy for you to wipe out Israel just like that, because they are in bed with America, and whatever they tell America to do, America does it. So it is not going to be easy. And from what the Sheikh is saying, they are basically going to take over the world in the near future. And listening to this lady and the man, listen, there is some truth that is hidden that these people don't want to tell us. Because you remember, like when they came to Africa, they basically bent down all our histories, like every life that we lived prior to the colonial era. They bent down everything. Some of the artifacts, they took them away, things that could easily tell us who we were back in the days, way before they came to Africa. They just destroyed everything. But as I always say, God being so good, they couldn't conquer the whole of Africa. So for one particular country called Ethiopia, they couldn't conquer that country. And today we can get the Ethiopian Bible, get the truth, because their history is undiluted. And I'm so happy that Ethiopia is today standing tall, and they have all their history, everything intact. That's why I say Africa, if we are going to be very, very, very much liberated, I think we should take Ethiopia serious, and their books and their history and everything. That's my piece. Thank you so much for watching.